My head is full of pretty lumps.
Can you believe it's been almost 17 years since we got our first Drake and Josh Christmas special? And that was after the show. It was kind of like a revival. And there's only one time of year that I could talk about something like this, and it is Christmas. Drake and Josh kind of did the impossible where they never had a single holiday episode until they decided to make this full-on movie. I remember thinking at that age, why isn't Drake and Josh having specials like that? They did Drake and Josh Go Hollywood, but that's essentially the opposite of this type of movie. With that movie being a classic, it's cool to look at Christmas and actually see it as a better film. But is it better? Is really what I'm gonna figure out today. And if this movie is really worth recommending to watch with your family, dogs, and estranged grandmother at the holidays. So let's get into the Christmas spirit and check out the Drake and Josh Christmas movie. What's up, everybody? It's Johnny 2000s, focusing on TV, movies, and so much more, and this time, Christmas. So here's the movie, Merry Christmas, Drake and Josh, airing in 2008 on Nickelodeon. Could have been in the theaters, but nobody asked me. It starts out pretty awesome because we have an awesome opening sequence. I don't know why, for me, the opening sequence tells me how seriously they take these movies. And we start with like a snow globe and all the characters' names coming up in a similar way they did in Drake and Josh Goes Hollywood to just show that they're serious about this. No laugh track again, and this time it's actually shot on location, which is a lot better. Drake is driving through the car, and we actually get to see all the town and then actually Drake and Josh's house, which is cool because we only see them in establishing shots before. This is also when iCarly started to air, so that's the only thing that's really weird about it, like seeing Jerry Trainer in this not as a main role, knowing he's the main role of iCarly.
I distinctly ordered a diet root beer, and this tastes like
I'm talking to children!
The parents go on vacation throughout this movie, and that's actually really funny, but there's not that much to talk about with it, so we're gonna kind of have to move on from that.
And that's the ocean, and that's a big rock. And this is your bungalow right here.
It starts with another wacky event with this giant float getting out of Josh's hands and flying down the neighborhood. Something really wacky, kind of like the lasers they had at the beginning of the last movie, but this one's even more intense. And this time we get to see the premiere. Seeing everything we saw before, like the mall, the premiere, is actually making the Drake and Josh world a lot wider than I thought it was. I'm so happy they came out with this movie, because at the time I was probably like on the fence about it. I thought that like the show was over, we weren't doing any more Drake and Josh, but this was a nice comeback. I feel like we just can't ignore Josh's new haircut and style. Like, he changes so much over the course of so many years. It's just distracting, but not in a bad way, in like a the show ages pretty well kind of way.
Haircuts?
Yeah, haircuts. I mean, look at that hair.
Unruly, that's what it is.
We get Helen back again, and I love Helen. She is so funny, and even funnier without the laugh track.
Going to celebrate my divorce.
Whoa, wait. You just got married.
Yeah, the first 2 weeks were delightful. Week 3 was unpleasant. Week 4 was downright irritating. By week 5, I was out the door. See you. Good riddance. No more Helen for you.
I don't know why I didn't see her in Drake and Josh Goes Hollywood, but we should have. I feel like more characters should have been incorporated with that. But then again, the 4th season is when they really rounded out the ensemble cast, like Eric and Craig. So it's not a surprise that we didn't really get there in that movie. But this movie takes everything to the next level, bringing back all the people after Really Big Shrimp. We even get Gavin here, and Drake is Santa Claus, which I think is kind of insane. And Josh is the bag.
Hi, Sack.
Merry Christmas.
Drake ends up doing a little Christmas show on the top of the mall, and this is when we're talking about like our Christmas plans. Like, what are we doing for Christmas? And Drake is going to Vegas, which is kind of crazy because he's a kid. They talk about this every now and then, but I didn't realize they were still like this young. And Josh is kind of upset about it because he wants to keep everybody together for the holidays. Josh actually sees people like crashing Drake's Christmas performance, and then the cops show up thinking that he is the problem, and he falls off the roof into the back trunk, which I think is an outlandish stunt that really didn't need to happen, but it's a movie, so it's obviously a lot funnier that it did. I mean, I'm glad they had this. And Josh ends up going to full-on prison because of all of this. I did not expect that to happen.
I didn't do anything. Shut up.
But it's funny because that's something you would expect to happen in a movie. Josh befriends one of his cellmates, and they actually start getting along after being scared, and Drake ends up having to bail Josh out. They end up going to the courtroom, being represented by Helen, which I kind of think is hilarious, and Drake and Josh are both at risk for going to jail at this point, so the stakes have never been higher. Oh, they're gonna go to jail because Drake tried to bail Josh out of jail, which is insane. I've never seen an episode where Drake and Josh go to jail, and I love that. That's hilarious. But yeah, so they're in the courtroom trying to figure out what's gonna happen because of it, and then they get told by this legal guy that in order to get out of jail, they have to do community service, and that would be give this one specific family of kids without parents the best Christmas ever. And it's cool because it feels like it's not necessarily a Drake and Josh episode, but they're like the main parts of it, and I love that when they do that for movies, especially Christmas movies. So yeah, Drake and Josh meet the family, and they're all like the opposite of them. Like, one likes to jump all across the furniture, one of them doesn't speak at all except for gibberish.
We're looking for Mary Alice?
And it feels like very iCarly in this bit. Oh, and there's this sweet little girl that is like the most redeemable of them all, like trying to be the Cindy Lou Who, like the innocent one that's like, please help us have a good Christmas. And so they fail miserably multiple times, to a point where they even lose their clothes at one point. By the way, they copied that from Zoe 101. It happened a couple years ago. You can't repeat all the old things. Megan becomes intertwined with the plot.
Either put on some clothes or join a gym.
As she actually starts helping the boys, which is funny because she's mature enough to be Carly Shay at this point, and we're just gonna ignore it because we want to pretend like Drake and Josh still exists outside of iCarly. So yeah, after failure, even Josh trying to get them a Christmas tree, things get worse and worse.
If you squint, it looks kind of nice.
And things aren't going well for Audrey and Walter either. Their entire vacation is screwed up when they're finding themselves at this like straw cabin on the ocean, and basically there's a giant storm and they're screwed this whole movie. Drake tries to connect with the rebel kid and actually give him advice, which I like. I like that it's about like insight and actually has a little bit of backbone and heart to it. Something that Drake and Josh Goes Hollywood didn't have. Like, it didn't need to introduce the characters again. It didn't need to establish all the goals before we knew what was at stake. Like, this movie does a good job of being full circle. Like, they do all the goal setting and the character arcs at the beginning and actually fully pay them off toward the end, making it more of a legitimate movie. So it's kind of cool that Nickelodeon definitely dove into this and used all the stuff they learned about making a good movie and put it into here, because they make I'd Go to Japan after this, which is the iCarly 3-part movie, and trust me, it feels like they didn't learn anything. You got so good on Drake and Josh Merry Christmas that they didn't even do it good? I don't even understand that. So Drake does this whole performance for the kids to celebrate Christmas, and it kind of gets them in high spirits, almost thinking that the plots are going to be resolved, but then the prosecutor or the guy that's keeping an eye on them ends up telling the kids exactly what they're doing, which is like, hey, like, you promised you would have these kids having a good time, and the kids realize that Drake and Josh were not there to actually befriend them, but to just not go to jail. And it's kind of heartbreaking. The rebel kid and the sweet little girl are like, no! And they feel horrible. Like, they end up not going to jail, but did they really win in the end? That's when we get to this third act, which I think Drake and Josh Goes Hollywood didn't have. They didn't really have a lot of buffering room. They just kind of went from one thing to another and didn't need to have all these plot arcs. So Drake and Josh try to be redeemable characters and actually give these kids a Christmas they never had by doing the one thing that they thought would be a really awesome thing, making snow happen. Crazy Steve has this giant wood chipper throughout this movie, and he's like bragging about it the whole time, which also feels like a Spencer thing. Like, you might as well have just made this an iCarly crossover at a certain point, because Spencer is essentially in this movie as Crazy Steve, and we can't forget that.
My head is full of pretty lumps.
I guess this is just a whole Three Stooges bits where Drake and Josh are incapable of doing anything, so every time they try, things just get worse and worse. The prosecutor guy ends up showing up at Drake and Josh's house where they started having a full Christmas. Like, the kids ended up forgiving Drake and Josh, and everybody comes together to celebrate one last time while Audrey and Walter are away.
Honey? Hey, where are you going?
Home for Christmas!
And it's sweet. Like, we have a Christmas tree, we get to see the Drake and Josh house in a way we never had before. I remember when I was this age watching this special, being like, dang, they never had a Christmas episode ever. Like, you know, you didn't realize it until the series was over that Drake and Josh had never really celebrated the holidays at all. So it's cool that this movie kind of filled in more than one experience of fan service. And by the end, everybody is able to forgive them. We even get a cameo from Mindy to show that her and Josh are still together, which I find pretty sweet. And yeah, so everybody wins in the end. The kid that never talked has his first words, which is such a stereotypical, like, movie trope. And then Josh's cellmate from the beginning of the movie comes back dressed as Santa, which is hilarious.
Ho, 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 Merry Christmas, and all that stuff.
And the whole thing resolves with a nice day in the snow, and everybody gets along. The end. So, Drake and Josh Goes Hollywood versus Merry Christmas, Drake and Josh. You can definitely tell why Nickelodeon cared so much about keeping the things that worked about their feature films while not ruining it the way they eventually would ruin I Go to Japan or any of the Victorious specials. I Party with Victorious, for example. Like, they just completely ditched the production value and cinematography of it all because I guess they just didn't want to do something that expensive again. But as you can see with Merry Christmas, Drake and Josh, it's worth putting the time and effort into this. I feel like Drake and Josh Goes Hollywood was the closest thing to doing an iParty with Victorious-like special, where they had an hour and 20 minutes, but were they gonna use it? Not really. But yeah, Drake and Josh Goes Hollywood, slightly better than all the other Nickelodeon movies that came after it, but then Drake and Josh Merry Christmas ended up sealing the deal and putting the best of all worlds into this, making it to the level that Wizards of Waverly Place got, that Hannah Montana got, and better than the Sweet Life movie, because the Sweet Life movie is horrible. But yeah, Drake and Josh, definitely a great improvement over time. Thank God they had 2 or 3 really good specials to kind of define what it was like to watch Drake and Josh at that time, and they're memorable. They definitely bring in the holiday spirit, so all around a really good experience, both movies. And Nickelodeon just got better and then worse again. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching my deep dive on these Drake and Josh movie specials. I would love to know what you think, which one is the better one, which one works, and which one doesn't work. All around, like, I had a lot of fun watching this, and if you guys want to see more of my Drake and Josh content, double check my channel. I have a lot of cool stuff out there, and if you want more, just let me know. I appreciate you guys so much. So for more 2000s content, like movies, TV, music, and more, check out Johnny 2000. And until next time, everybody, have a great day.